Evening. I was on the phone with my wife earlier, and she was asking about this whole thing. She had no idea what it was. So I was explaining it to her, and I was like, I have no idea if there's going to be like 5 people here or 10 people here, but there's a lot more than that. So it's making me more nervous than I thought I was going to be. But welcome to you all. It's nice to have you all here. And I wanted to kind of start off, because I'm a scientist, just to talk a little bit about human body. Right now, as you guys are all sitting down, your bodies are becoming extremely agitated. And I don't know if you really realize that, but whenever you're sitting down, the longer you sit, the worse you actually are. Our bodies were made to move. And it's kind of like your dog at home. If you have a dog, they're like sitting there waiting for you to take them out for a walk. Your body is exactly the same way. It can't wait for you to get up and move. You have 360 joints in your body, about 650 plus muscles in your body, and all of that stuff is there for you to actually get up and move around, not to just sit there at your desk, which you do all day. The blood in your body actually depends upon movement for it to actually properly circulate. So without that, you're really bound to some very serious problems. An inactive lifestyle is going to lead toward a multitude of problems. And that's very scientific. There's lots of studies out there that show that. A curved posture when you sit, my mom always used to tell me, sit up, you're slouching. I'm tall, so I tend to do that all the time, to look down at people. But a curved posture when you're sitting, it puts a lot of strain and stress on your spine. It shrinks your chest cavity, and when you shrink your chest cavity, there's less oxygen going into your lungs. And all that oxygen is obviously important to your body, but it's also important to your brain. You need oxygen in your brain, and that oxygen will help you concentrate and actually understand things a lot better. So when you're limiting that supply of oxygen, you're really less able to concentrate in class. So it's interesting. There's a lot of links to cancer and heart disease, and liver and kidney problems, diabetes, from an inactive lifestyle. So sitting is actually bad for you. So you really should all be standing right now, but you don't have to do that. You can do that later. So lots of studies that lead to that. So what's the point of all this? Don't sit so much. Get up every now and then. Stretch. Get 30 minutes of exercise at least every day. It seems like a very, very easy fix. You have to do that every now and then. And for our students here at school, you're getting up every 40 minutes and you're walking down the hallway. For teachers, we're up walking around. But those of you that might be confined to a desk all day, not a bad idea to just every now and then get up and move. But there's a much deeper lesson there. It's not just about, getting up and being active. There's a more spiritual message, I think, behind this as well. And I want to kind of talk about that with somebody that I find really, really inspiring from the Bible, and that's Hezekiah. Hezekiah was a king of Judah, about 700 BC or so. And in 2 Kings chapter 18, there's a verse that says that Hezekiah was like the best king ever. He trusted in the Lord. He put all his confidence in him. And it says there is no one else like him. He kept all his commandments, and he was just a wonderful king for Judah. And so he did everything right. He worked hard to reform the kingdom from all the idolatry that was going on there. But at the age of 39, so that's not very old, 39 years old, he gets this message from Isaiah, the prophet of Judah. And Isaiah comes up to Hezekiah. He's sick. He's not feeling well. He actually has a boil, which is causing his sickness, which might be a tumor. We don't know. And Isaiah says, get your house in order, because you're going to die, and you're not going to live. So it's like the doctor comes into your house, or into the room, and you're waiting there, and he says, you only have a few days to live. So what do you do in that kind of a situation? Now, just to make this a little bit more personal, my mom, back in the summer of 2007, she started to lose some of her mental awareness. She was unable to do some simple math. She started to forget things, which was really weird for my mom. My mom was always spot on. And we started to notice that. She started noticing that. She started having headaches. She got tired, unusually tired. And so she eventually goes to a doctor, and they send her in for an MRI. And I'm left at home with my younger brother. He's about 7 years younger than I am. And, my mind's racing. What's going on with my mom? And I knelt on the floor of my bedroom. I remember this very vividly. I've got my arm around my brother. We're praying at my bed in my room. My parents finally come home, and my dad says to me, "Your mom has a brain tumor, and she only has a few months to live." And I remember that moment vividly. It's still in my mind, and you can see me getting choked up in that moment. I fell to my knees. I just fell, collapsed right at my mom's feet, and I've never cried so hard in my life. It was really, really hard. So there's a roller coaster of emotions from the fall of 2007. My mom has this cranial removal. They actually removed part of her skull right here, the half of it right here. They removed this glioblastoma tumor that's on her brain. And we're all in the waiting room with my whole family, friends. I remember reading Psalm 40, which if you ever get a chance, go home and read Psalm 40. It's a very inspiring psalm. And we're sitting there hoping and praying and all that stuff. And my mom comes out of surgery, and they successfully took the tumor off of her brain. And she had to actually have her skull replaced later on so that there wasn't pressure. But she was given more time. And I remember that vividly. We were so excited and happy about it. And she was given more time. So it was amazing that she was given more time. And I remember in 2008, I got married in 2008. And, so there's that time period. But in 2009, 2010, her cancer returns. And she develops another tumor. This tumor was incapable of removal. She went through rounds of radiation, and eventually she lost her ability to walk. She was eventually bound to a bed at home, and hospice care comes in 2010, spring of 2010, and my mom fell asleep on April 8th, 2010. So she lost her battle to cancer. And at that time, I actually got my job here at CBA. I was here right before that, the month before that, filling in for Mrs. Mather as a long-term sub. And then my mom passed away right after that. And then I get a call from Brother Joe in July of 2010 that says, "Hey, I want you to come here and work for us." So, this roller coaster, up and down and up and down. So spring 2011 arrives. I'm working here at CBA as a teacher. I love my job, I still do. But I wake up in the spring of 2011. It was a year later, and I had this weird feeling in my eyes. I was unable to focus. I was going in and out of focus. I couldn't read a piece of paper. So I go to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor refers me to Upstate. And I go to Upstate. I'm in the ER Upstate, and I don't know if you've ever been to the ER Upstate, but it's like a mass chaos of people coming in and out, and it's craziness. Anyway, they send me to Upstate, and I have an MRI at Upstate. So you can imagine what my feelings are, right? I mean, I just got through this whole thing with my mom. MRIs were a normal thing for her. I'm not a fan of hospitals at all at this point in my life. I had a spinal tap and all that wonderful stuff in the hospital. My wife and I are both praying, we hope it's no tumor, right? Because that's on my mind. What else is on my mind but a tumor in my brain? We're hoping for that, obviously, not to be the case. So eventually, after MRI and spinal tap and all that stuff, I had this diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So I was diagnosed with MS in 2011. And if you don't know what MS is, it's a disease which basically your immune system is attacking you. So rather than attacking other things, it's attacking the actual myelin sheath in your nerves, which is in your brain. And it cuts away at that, and then obviously those nerves are not able to send signals to various parts of your brain, so you start to lose various functions in your body, and you don't know what's going to happen next. So I have all this scar tissue in my brain all over the place, and you can look at it on an MRI. And so, it's not a brain tumor, but it's MS, so it's not terrible, right? I'm alive, which is a wonderful thing. So why all this sad news? You're all looking at me and you're all like, "Whoa, this is deep, Mr. Ribaudo. This is rough. I don't know why you did that to me." Hezekiah, I mentioned Hezekiah earlier. When Hezekiah heard his diagnosis. He was told he didn't have long to live. The first thing he did, he turned and he faces the wall and he prays. And he prays this very simple prayer. I'm going to read it to you. It's in 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 3. He says, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And then it says that Hezekiah wept sore. And so there were two things that Hezekiah did. First thing he did was he prayed. Immediately pray. That always comes first. And if you remember what I was saying earlier, first thing I did when my mom went to the hospital or went to get an MRI, I was praying. And then afterwards, I wept sore. That's exactly what Hezekiah did. He wept. Both of those things are necessary. Both praying and crying are good things. And no matter what, your prayers are always answered. And most people say, oh, well, I prayed for that thing, but I didn't get it. Well, you did. You got an answer. And that answer might be no, but sometimes the answer is yes. Hezekiah, after he prayed, was granted another 15 years of life. And he worked hard after that to get his house in order, to reform the kingdom, and to continue doing what he was doing. And he was probably the happiest man at that moment on the whole entire earth, right? To hear that, I have another 15 years. In some cases, life isn't granted. My mom, she passed away. But no matter what, God will never forget what we do while we still have life in us. In Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10, it says, For God is not unrighteous to forget your work and your labor of love, which you have showed toward his name, and that you have ministered to the saints and do minister. So God remembers what we do in this lifetime, which is an inspiring thing. So while you have breath in your body, continue working the works of God. So, going back to what we talked about earlier, walking and an active lifestyle is obviously naturally beneficial. But walking in a spiritual way is also essential. My mom lost her ability to walk after her first tumor. And she went to rehab, and she slowly, very slowly, regained her ability to walk. But she went through a tough time doing that. She had a goal to walk down my aisle at my wedding in the spring or in the summer of 2008, and she did. She walked down the aisle, which was, for her a big thing. I have an aunt who has a more progressive form of MS, and it takes her balance away. You can see me; you would never know I have MS, right? I mean, most of you probably didn't even know that. And some people, it's worse than others. I'm just fine. I'm thankful. I'm very thankful that I'm just fine. My aunt gets up every day and she walks to the best of her ability. Sometimes she needs a cane. Sometimes she walks by herself. I thought the first time I heard that I had MS, I thought that was my end result. I thought I'm going to go downhill and it's going to be bad. And I'm not going to be jumping around the classroom like I used to be. Because you guys have all seen me jumping from desk to desk and doing crazy things in the classroom. I'm thankful that I don't have that. But if I do, if it ends up going that way, I'm not going to quit. I will never, ever, ever quit. I will not give up completely. I have every year an annual MRI. I have biannual checkups with my neurologist. I give myself a shot every night in my skin with a needle. Okay, subcutaneously, so it's not very far in. But I give a shot in my leg, my hip, my stomach, every night, right? I give one a night. So I keep doing that stuff. I take Copaxone, which is a drug for MS, and I exercise regularly. I eat healthy. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. But most importantly, I do the same with my spiritual life. An active engagement in God's Word has just as much benefit as an active lifestyle and a healthy diet. That's very true. And just to kind of close things out, I want to read to you some words that my mom penned 8 years ago. She, like I said, she relearned how to walk again, and she wrote something, and this is, I think, very inspiring, so I'm going to read it to you. She said, "Walking spiritually and naturally is an intricate operation involving picking up our feet and placing them carefully so that we don't fall. Yet we do fall occasionally. If we fall, does this mean we can no longer be effective children of God? It may feel that way. Just as I thought in rehab, I was sure that I had no strength to learn what I had taken for granted as almost second nature. And if you have fallen, my message is this: God provides that strength to pick up our feet and get back onto the narrow way that leads to life. Our spiritual walk doesn't come as second nature as we would like to think. Sometimes God allows us to relearn our walk. We must not become discouraged and disheartened if we find we have become disabled in our walk in Christ. Walking in Christ requires patience and perseverance. Sometimes it is a matter of putting one foot in front of the other with courage and determination, as well as the conviction that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. If you find your walk has become impaired, don't be discouraged. Grab hold of the hand of God who lifts us out of the pit and renew your walk, focusing on the goal that is ahead. Know the joy that comes with successfully accomplishing the goal. There is nothing like being able to see the help that is readily available through answered prayer. And she closed with a verse from Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Thank you.